Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of the dinosaurs, right? We all know the image. This colossal, 42-foot-long predator, bone-crushing bite, those famously tiny arms. But what if I told you that a huge piece of the T-Rex story, its entire teenage phase, might just be a total myth? Yeah, stick with me because this gets wild.
Because that's the massive question paleontologists are wrestling with right now. For decades, we figured we had the T-Rex life story down. We'd find these smaller, lankier skeletons and just, assume they were the awkward teen versions of the tyrant king. But some incredible new research is suggesting we might have been wrong this whole time.
So this has kicked off a real identity crisis for one of the most famous animals to ever walk the earth. And to really get why, we've got to look at the story we all thought we knew, the one that's been in museums and textbooks for years.
The old story was pretty simple. You have your juvenile T-Rex, this smaller, maybe faster version, just waiting for that huge growth spurt. And then you get the adult, the slow, unstoppable, heavyweight champion we all know and love. This was pretty much scientific consensus for decades. But then, one incredible fossil came along and threatened to change everything. And it all comes down to a fossil so legendary, it actually has its own nickname, the Dueling Dinosaurs.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2006, in Montana's famous Hell Creek Formation. This fossil is unearthed, and it is just spectacular. It looks for all the world like a triceratops and a small tyrannosaur died locked in their final battle. For years, everybody just assumed, okay, that's a young T-Rex fighting a triceratops, a classic prehistoric showdown. But what happens when scientists decide to take a much, much closer look? And I mean a really close look. Researchers spent 5 whole years meticulously analyzing every single inch of this fossil. This wasn't just a quick peek. This was a deep, painstaking investigation to pull out every secret those bones were holding. And what they found? Oh man, it sent absolute shockwaves through the world of paleontology. It turns out that wasn't a young T-Rex at all. It was, in their words, a clear case of mistaken identity.
So, if it wasn't a teenage T-Rex, then what in the world was it? Well, it is time to meet the dinosaur at the very heart of this mystery, Nanotyrannus. The evidence just kept stacking up. First, they looked at the bone's microstructure. The growth rings showed it was basically an adult, not a growing teen. Second, the arms. They were longer and stronger than a fully grown T-Rex's. As one researcher said, bones don't just shrink as an animal grows up. And finally, its whole build was just different. It was agile, with long legs made for running. The conclusion became unavoidable. This was a totally separate species. And to be crystal clear, we're not talking about some kind of T-Rex light here. We're talking about two completely different predators that just happen to live in the same place. T-Rex was a 42-foot-long heavyweight, a stocky powerhouse built to crush giant prey. Nanotyrannus was an 18-foot-long speedster, built to chase down and grab smaller, faster animals with those long arms. Two very different hunters with two very different playbooks.
And get this, the Dueling Dinosaurs fossil wasn't a one-off. The researchers also went back to another famous fossil called Jane and said, yep, this is one too. They even gave it a super clever name, Nanotyrannus lithaeus. Lethe is the river of forgetfulness in Greek mythology, a little nod to how this unique dinosaur was basically hiding in plain sight for decades, mislabeled and forgotten.
Okay, so the implications here are enormous. This isn't just about adding another dinosaur name to the books. This fundamentally changes how we look at the most famous dinosaur of all time.
I mean, listen to how study co-author Lindsay Zano put it. She said, this discovery flips decades of T-Rex research on its head. And she's not exaggerating.
So here's why it's such a giant deal. For years, any scientist trying to figure out how T-Rex grew up, how fast it was, what it ate, they were unknowingly mixing data from two totally different animals. They were building models of T-Rex's life using Nanotyrannus fossils. It's like trying to understand the life cycle of a lion by studying the cheetah. You just can't do it. You know, this whole debate actually has a really long and twisty history. Nanotyrannus was first named way back in the 1940s from just a skull. But over time, the scientific consensus shifted, and everyone just started calling them young T-Rexes. It literally took the discovery of the dueling dinosaurs in 2006 and this super intensive study to finally swing that pendulum back.
To really get a sense of the scale of the cleanup, paleontologist Larry Whitmer points out that there are literally decades of research, probably hundreds of scientific papers, all based on a premise that this one study overturns. That's how big of a deal this is. An entire field might have to go back and check its homework.
So, where do we go from here? Is the case closed? Well, not exactly. This is science after all, and big claims always spark a big, healthy debate.
And this is the part I find fascinating. We get to watch the scientific process play out in real time. You have prominent paleontologists like Steve Brusade reading this and saying, you know what, I think I was wrong. But he also makes a great point. T-Rex still had to have teenagers, right? So the next big challenge is figuring out which small skeletons are actual T-Rex teens and which are adult Nanotyrannus. Others, like Thomas Carr, are still cautious, saying they want to see more evidence before they're convinced.
But that trump card, that key piece of evidence, the Nanotyrannus from the Dueling Dinosaurs fossil, is something special. It's 100% complete. That is almost unheard of. It's one of the rarest finds ever, and it means scientists have every single bone to study, leaving almost no room for guesswork.
And you know what the best part is? The story is far from over. The dueling dinosaurs are still partially stuck in rock. Scientists are hoping they might find preserved skin, maybe even feathers. They still haven't figured out exactly how these two animals died together. There's just so much more left to discover.
Which just leaves us with this incredible, thought-provoking question. If we could be wrong about something so fundamental, about the world's most famous dinosaur, what other facts that we all take for granted are just waiting for the right fossil to come along and completely rewrite history?
So now I'm going to turn it over to you. Looking at all the evidence, the adult growth rings, the impossibly long arms, that sleek, agile build, what do you think? Is Nanotyrannus its own unique, speedy predator? Or was it just the awkward teen phase of the mighty T-Rex?
Let me know your verdict down in the comments below. This is such a fascinating debate, and I would love to hear what you think. And hey, if you enjoyed getting this huge discovery broken down for you, make sure you subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks for watching.